My name is Julie Cachola. I'm a planner with Hawaiian Homelands, and I will be providing this informational briefing on the Hawaiian Homes Commission public hearing. This is a public hearing to hear Nexamp Solar's proposal for the Kalaoa community-based renewable energy project. Let me first go over the agenda for the hearing. The first part of the hearing will cover information on the project and the terms of the agreement. This is a pre-recorded informational briefing that will cover why is DHL involved in renewable energy, how do we get involved, what is that process, what are opportunities for beneficiary input. We will cover what community-based renewable energy is all about. And then we'll hear a presentation from the Nexamp Solar LLC's representative, who will talk about the Kalaoa project. And then I'll discuss the terms that are on the table at this point. At that point, that will end the informational briefing, and then we'll go into the live session. That would be people that are actually attending the meeting at the location for the public hearing, or virtual attendees. And at that point, we can hear questions from those attendees, and Nexamp and myself will try to answer those questions. The reason why that's important is because when we go into part 2 of the hearing, which is, an hour later, at that point, the commission can only receive testimony. So there's no interaction during the formal part of this hearing. And so if you ask a question, nobody can answer you. So that's why we need to get all of that the questions answered in the first part, okay, before we start the formal part of the hearing. At the end of the presentation, if you have already signed up to testify through the DHL website, we will call you first to testify. If now, after listening to the informational briefing, you would like to testify and are in person, then please see a DHL staff member to get signed in. And if you're participating via Zoom, please type in your request in the chat box so that we know that you want to testify. And if you're dialing by phone, you will have an opportunity to testify after the other testifiers. So stay on the line, okay? When your name is called, then you can unmute your mic and you have 3 minutes to present your testimony. So that's part 2 of the hearing. The third part is actually the decision-making portion of the hearing, which will occur on Wednesday, October 13th at 1:30. Live at Kuhiohale, or if you'd like to watch a live stream, the link is there on the slide. I should note that the executive, they're anticipating going into executive session, so you might not be able to hear like that kind of dialogue and discussion that would be occurring off the public arena. So you won't be able to hear that. But if you want to stick around, then they will come back into regular meeting, into the regular hearing, and then you can hear the vote. But I'd like to start here on what it is that we're looking at for the hearing. So there, if you are in the Kalaoa, this is the Kalaoa informational briefing. So the pertinent point is F1. They're looking at the approval to issue a right of entry permit for up to 3 years for due diligence purposes, meaning they'll be out there doing studies for 3 years. And after that is done, they're going to be developing an environmental assessment that then has to be approved by the commission. And if that and other requirements are met, then they can go into a long-term lease, which is up to 25 years with options to extend. What they're looking at is actually 27.6 acres of land at Kalaoa, Hawaii, to develop a solar plus battery storage project that would generate up to 9 megawatts of energy. So that is what we're talking about today in the informational briefing, is this project that would generate up to 9 megawatts of energy at Kalaoa. You folks are familiar with how to do this. We want to make sure that your mics are muted and you can As you're listening to this information briefing, you can type in your comments or your questions in the chat box. And then when we go live after the informational briefing, if you want to raise your question verbally, you can raise your hand. Okay, let's get started. Why is DHL involved in renewable energy? Why in Kalaoa? Why now? How does it work? So it starts with basically in 2009, DHL and the commission approved DHL's energy policy. It's called Ho'omaluo. But at the beginning, there's many different objectives. But at the beginning, they're basically saying, Native Hawaiians should be at the lead of efforts to achieve energy self-sufficiency and sustainability in Hawaii. And part of the things is we should be looking at lands that are available that we can promote renewable energy development. So that's one thing, we have an overall policy. The other thing is in 2015, there was a state law, governor signed into law, a game-changing requirement, and that is that it requires electric utilities to produce 100% of their electricity from renewable energy sources by the year 2045. This is a game changer, 100%. This created the need and demand for renewable energy. So now even the utilities are now looking, how are they going to address this goal of meeting 100% renewable energy? When you look at our situation, DHL, we have a lot of trust lands that have excellent resources for renewable energy. And so we have solar, our lands are positioned in solar areas where there's high solar energy, or we have some lands in the areas where there are high wind energies and even water hydroelectric resources. So we have trust lands statewide that actually are positioned in areas where there's good resource. We also have needs, and renewable energy development could generate revenue for the department, which allows us to build new homesteads and deliver community benefits. So there's a benefit to developing renewable energy on our lands. So let's look at our lands. In Kalaoa, we have these 3 parcels, and these parcels are located. Here's the Kona Airport. So right across the street as you're going up, and here's the Queen K Highway. And we have also another parcel of land that's right across the host park in Nauha, right? And when we look at our lands, the first thing we look at is, what does our island plan say? Because that's kind of like, we took a assessment of our lands. And in this area, we find that these parcels were identified for residential use. There was some little corner here for commercial use. And across the Nauha Host Park was this 200-acre parcel was kind of separated into one part of general agriculture and one part industrial. And so for this renewable energy project, what we're looking at is this industrial parcel that's part of the 200 acres right across from Nauha Host Park. There it is, you can see. And I should add, the reason why also we're looking at this parcel is because in the community's 2009 and 2020 regional plan updates, in 2 of those updates, both updates included a regional plan priority project that promoted or that supported a renewable energy initiative. And it even identified this site that we're looking at as the site where the community wanted to look at renewable energy development. So, that's why we're looking at that parcel in Kalaoa. The priority project talked about increasing energy self-sufficiency within the region, and also the ability to provide benefits to the community through, professional development and job training and other benefits from the project. So now we have the location. So now I'd like to cover how does DHHL get involved in renewable energy development. And this is a very simplistic diagram of actually pretty complex relationships. What we have is basically three different players on the table. We have HECO, the utility, and they need to, again, reach 100% renewable energy by 2045. And the way they do this is that they're buying energy from renewable energy producers. Right? They are not equipped to just go 100%. So they're looking to others to help them to develop these renewable energy projects in order to supply the electricity. Their process starts with a request for proposals that they send out. Anybody interested or can meet these specs of providing renewable energy, they would submit a proposal. And they go through a very rigorous, competitive process. And in the end, they're going to have a contractual agreement, a power purchase agreement, which is basically an agreement that says, and this is the relationship between the renewable energy producer and the utility. The utility is saying, we will buy X amount of energy for this amount of money. And the producer is saying, and we will produce that much energy on time, basically. And so it's in a contractual agreement, but again, it's a very competitive process, and HECO controls that. We don't have any part in that. The second player on this table is the renewable energy producer, in this case, the Nexamp Solar. These producers, they have the technology. They know how to turn sun energy from the sun into actual electricity. They know how to do this. What they need is they need the land with the renewable energy resource, right? That allows them to actually do the conversion and deliver the energy to the utility. And of course, they need the utility to buy it from them. So they need the power purchase agreement, and they need some kind of area of land. So they need some kind of agreement in place with the landowner. And that's where we come into play. We are the landowner on the table, and that relationship between the landowner and the renewable energy producer is basically a general lease. That's a long-term lease. So DHHL, we have the land, and we're looking for general lease revenue, but we also have beneficiaries. And so we want to make sure that whatever project is developed, we minimize the adverse effects or impacts on that community, and also maximize the benefits to that community. So whether it's like looking at the regional plan priority project, workforce training, and whenever we go into the community, no fail, somebody will always raise the question, well, why not just lower electricity bills, right? That's a bottom line benefit for everyone. So we're looking to maximize these benefits for our beneficiaries and minimize the adverse impacts from any kind of project that is approved. So this is our relationship and how we get involved as a landowner. I'm going to show you now the next part of this relationship. These are the same three players on the table, and this kind of shows you the process over time. Now, this is grossly simplified process, but basically, like I was saying, HECO issues an RFP or request for proposals. The company, the renewable energy producer, would submit a proposal. And the first thing they're looking at is, do they have site control? Because if they don't have an area that they can do this project, then they're not interested. So what we're trying to do is, as a landowner, demonstrate site control in time for them to be duly considered in HECO's process. Again, it's a competitive process, and at the end, they would have hopefully a PPA in place. And by the way, that also has to be approved by the PUC. So that's on its own process. When you come down to DHHL, we did the same kind of thing as HECO. We solicited proposals. So we said, anybody interested or in doing a renewable energy proposal on this parcel at Kalaoa, submit a proposal. And so Nexamp, the energy producer, did submit a proposal. We reviewed it, evaluated it, and there were several proposals that were submitted, and Nexamp's proposal was the best, so that was the one we selected. We then went out and we conducted several beneficiary consultation meetings. And today we are starting our public hearings. And at the end, on October 3rd, this is the part 3 of the hearings, there would be a decision on that ROE, the right of entry agreement, that would also be the general lease for the project. So that's where we are today, looking at this decision. At that point, then the company would be doing all of their due diligence. They have to complete their environmental studies, cultural studies, biological, botanical. They have to design the project and basically develop an environmental assessment, which then comes to the commission, and we would also take that out to beneficiary consultation. And there would be a decision on that final environmental assessment. When that final environmental assessment is done, and provided that they have a power purchase agreement, then the general lease would kick in. And then at that point, they can do their constructing, and they can construct their, it'll take them a couple years to construct it, and then they will get into a commercial operations kind of period. But that's a lot of ifs, right? That's if we can get the environmental assessment done, if they get the PPA done, right? And so this is kind of like the process moving forward on the approvals and all what needs to be in place. It'll be a long process over several years. So, as if that's not complicated enough, there is another thing that's happening here, and that is that HECO has come up with what they call a community-based renewable energy initiative. So let me explain this, and I have like animation on this because it's to me the easiest way to explain it. I start this animation with, so this is HECO's power plant at Kahe Point. I live in Waianae, so I just took a picture of that. But basically you start off with these homes that have, afforded, they've been able to afford their solar panels on their rooftops, and they're all happy. They are still connected to grid, so that if they don't make enough energy from their solar panels, they can still, to flip on their switch and it'll still work because they are still hooked up to grid. And they're happy mainly because their bill is down to a nominal like $20, right? Just to keep the lines open. So they reduce their energy bill significantly by putting photovoltaic panels on their rooftops. The problem is HECO realizes that there are plenty of people that live in apartment buildings or condominiums. They don't have a rooftop. So even if they wanted to, they couldn't put up a PV panels on their roofs. They live in apartment buildings. There are also people that just can't afford it. It's a big, large payment up front for solar panels, and they're not going to be able to afford that. So these people are not enjoying any benefit from renewable energy development. And so they developed, I should say, yeah, and not only they're not getting any benefit, they're actually paying a very high bill. So the HECO came up with this initiative, the Community-Based Renewable Energy Initiative, where they could address this issue. And how they do this is it starts with the subscriber organization, in this case, our renewable energy developer, which is Nexamp, right? They are required to secure a site. Remember, I said that they're looking for site control. And on the site, they're going to develop a project, most likely solar project. And this solar, the energy that they develop from this project goes directly to grid. Okay, it doesn't go to individual people's homes. It goes directly to grid, because this is how, right, HECO is going to show that they've hit that, they're getting to that 100% renewable energy. So it goes to grid. And then we have these people that have not been able to enjoy the benefits of renewable energy development. They sign up as subscribers to this project. And what happens is, as subscribers, the project will give that list to HECO and say, okay, these guys are our subscribers. They've signed up to be a part of our project. And so when HECO issues the monthly bills, they know that the subscribers get a reduced bill. And so they are actually getting a 10% reduction in their bill, or more, depending on the project. but they're getting a reduction in their bills. So this is the way that HECO has configured the system so that these people that live in apartment buildings or that can't afford photovoltaics on their own rooftops can share in some of the benefits of renewable energy development. So that's the whole scenario for community-based renewable energy development, where you have subscribers subscribing to a system and getting a reduction in their bill. And that's what we're looking at for this Kalaoa project. So now let me introduce Julie, who is the director at Nexamp of Business Development in Hawaii. She's been the one that we've been working with, and she's here to present Nexamp's Kalaoa project. And then you can see how all of these background information that I just gave you kind of ties in. Julie, would you like to start?
Yes, thank you, Julie. Hi, everyone. I'm Julie Boshman. I work for Nexamp. We're a company based on the mainland, but we've been working in Hawaii the last few years. And I've been with Nexamp a little over 7 years. And I'll be leading the project management on our side, teaming up with DHHL. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about our company, the technical proposal that we're proposing on the property, and also a little bit more about the program and what benefits that we can bring to the beneficiaries in the community. So I think I went over this a little bit, but I'll do a overview on Nexamp, talk about renewable energy in Hawaii to date, what kind of projects are existing, and what the new projects from the CBRE 2 program will look like. I'll show the solar layout, what we have proposed for equipment on the site, talk a little bit about the community benefits, talk about Nexamp's community solar subscription platform and program, and then talk and show what our outreach looks like as far as sending out mailers and connecting with the community in person. And then we'll have opportunity for comments at the end. So Nexamp was founded in 2007 by two best friends from high school. They started this company out of their garage. They wanted to be able to bring renewable energy benefits to local homes and small businesses. And eventually that kind of expanded to being a bigger company that we are now, focusing on community solar. And that's what we specialize in. So we will find properties or respond to RFPs like we did with DHHL. We'll put together a design proposal. We'll work to get the permits through the community. We'll build the project, and then we'll own and operate the project for the whole life. So the community will always have one point of contact with us, unlike some other developers who might start the project and sell it to somebody else. We have no plans to do that. So we'll be around for the long run, and we look forward to, really making a strong relationship with the community. We currently work on community solar projects in 12 different states, and we just started becoming involved in Hawaii because of this CBRE 2 program. It's a 235 megawatt program, so it's pretty substantial enough for us to be involved in. And to date, we have over 200 projects built that total over 370 megawatts of energy. And we are also backed by a Diamond Generating Corporation, which is a subsidiary of Mitsubishi. I wanted to show our company's mission statement because I think it's really important and relevant to this project. And our mission is to build the future of energy so that it's clean, simple, and accessible for all people, so everyone can understand it and that everyone can contribute to a cleaner environment. So right now in Hawaii, about 1 out of 3 homes have rooftop solar. And there's a lot of reasons why a lot of people can't have rooftop solar. Either they're not facing the right direction, they have trees in their yard that shade their roof, or it's too expensive. And so community solar is a great way to bring clean energy to your home without having to invest in rooftop panels. So the state has a 100% goal of renewable energy by 2045. Julie mentioned that already. But to date, I believe Hawaiian Electric, we've only achieved about 35% renewable energy. So we have a ways to go, and this program is a great way to get us up to speed. So the CBRE2 program is a program that is overseen by the Public Utilities Commission. It needs to be approved by them. It currently is under review to obtain final approval. And Hawaiian Electric also has a self-build team that can participate, and then many developers will also participate, and they will submit projects. And in order to be able to do that, you have to have site control or legal right to access the property and build your project. And so Hawaiian Electric will look at those projects that are submitted, and they will select projects based on what provides the biggest benefit. And I've listed here some of the phase 2 objectives, which are, again, to bring more renewable energy forward, to compensate for some of the previous programs falling short and not bringing forward enough solar and wind. And also, and most importantly, is to give access to low to moderate income customers, families who definitely can't afford rooftop solar. This is a way for them to participate with no cost. And finally, it's to be able to bring development of solar energy projects forward faster. And also, there's a lot of fossil fuel plants being retired in the next few years. And so we need to make up for that energy that's being taken off the grid. So the Kalaoa project is specifically planned to be a low to moderate income project, which means that everyone that we sign up, all the customers, the subscribers under this program, are to be considered low to moderate income based on the US HUD definition that is shown here. And so if you if you are considered under these number of persons in a family home under this category, then you would be able to subscribe and receive benefits from the program. And so it's a program rule that we have to sign up at least 60% of the power to low to moderate income residents. These projects under this program can have a combination of energy that's sent to both homes and commercial businesses or bigger power users. So our goal is to subscribe 100% low to moderate income residents. But if we don't get enough people to sign up, if we try our hardest, we reach out to everyone, we can't get enough people to sign up, then we would look to some local nonprofits and different groups that Hawaiian Electric has listed that would be considered as more commercial off-takers. And so through the Kalaoa project, we're proposing a 9 megawatt size system, and this would host about 1,350 homes if we can subscribe all 100%. So this slide shows the proposed layout for the Kalaoa site. You can see on the top left, the outline in red is the solar area. That's okay. The solar area that is proposed. So all the solar panels and the big equipment would be inside a fence, and that's what that red dotted line shows, the fenced area. And we are proposing it right behind the existing substation. And it's within the 100 acres of that industrial area. It's 9 megawatts, like I said. It will have 2 battery systems within the site. And the total area, the fence and the access road that's shown in gray on the right-hand side, that's a total of 30 acres. And so we will not exceed that size project. That's what we're proposing. And we will work with Hawaiian Electric, and they'll decide and determine what the final size would be. It could be smaller than that based on how much capacity the lines can take, and other factors that they decide. But on the right-hand side, you can see all the blue panels are shown. They're shown in rows that run north to south, and this is because it's a tracker system, which means that the panels slowly turn with the sun throughout the day. They don't make any noise. They rotate on their own with small motors on the ends of the rows, and they will utilize bifacial solar panels, which means that the panels can take in light on both sides of the panel, which is a newer technology, but it's something that is really, really valuable in Hawaii. Next slide. So I'll show some pictures of what this might look like on the ground if you're driving by or you're walking by. These pictures that I'll show are very similar to what this project might look like. And so this is a view if you were standing and looking at the solar panels. You can see there's a nice 7-foot farm fence around the panels. That's what we'd like to utilize. And again, the tracker panels, they sit about off the ground up to around 10 or 12 feet at the top, and they will slowly turn, like I said, throughout the day. This next slide shows, just for reference, some construction workers standing next to the rows of panels, so you can get an idea of what the height might be and what they might look like. So you can see both sides of the panels here. Those are bifacial panels. And it's a very simple system, so we're not proposing any concrete underneath these. They are like big stakes of steel that get pounded into the ground, and all the wiring is kept very neat underneath, wrapped up so nothing's hanging down. We really try to do a good job of making sure that our site is neat and tidy. This is a close depiction of what the site might look like at the entrance. So there are a few utility poles that are required going into the site. They hold various equipment such as emergency shutoff equipment, transformer, different things that are required for the site. So once you come in off the access road, you would see these poles. From the last pole, all the wiring is underground. So it goes underground into the site. And we also include a directory on the first pole or at the beginning of the site that is there in order to show any maintenance person or emergency response person exactly how the site is laid out and how they can shut off the site in the case of an emergency. These are the bigger boxes of equipment that will be placed in the very middle of the site, so they should not be easily viewed by someone driving by. The panels will be all around them, but this is what they look like. And so on the left-hand side is a battery, and so we will utilize a battery here in order to store the energy so that Hawaiian Electric can decide when the best time to release the energy is. And the best time is usually when people wake up in the morning, they turn on all their lights, they start using their machines, and then also when everyone comes home at night and turns on their lights again and uses electricity, watches TV. So the utility will look at peak demand, what times electricity is needed the most, and they will release energy from the battery during those times. And then on the right-hand side is a cabinet that contains our monitoring system. So it tracks what the system's doing 24/7. It lets us know if there's any kind of emergency. We can see it on the computer, and we can actually shut the system off from our computer, which is pretty cool. But on the right-hand side is a central inverter. And what the inverter does is it translates direct current power, which is what the panels take in from the sun, and it puts that energy out onto the grid as alternating current. And that's what we use in our homes and all our buildings is alternating current. There are a lot of things that we've done with our solar sites where we can incorporate different uses, and we really try to make full use of the site as best we can with different environmental benefits and agricultural benefits. So one thing that we have done on the mainland and we're working on doing here in Hawaii is adding sheep to our solar sites. We have sheep on about 15 of our sites currently on the mainland, and we're working with a local couple who are grazers and ranchers here on Oahu, and they do an excellent job. They maintain the sheep every day. They check on them, they bring them water. It's really a great program for a local rancher to participate in and receive an extra income from. And so that's one idea that we have for this site. Another one is to incorporate bees in order to create a pollinator habitat. So we can plant wildflowers, we can have hives, there's different things we can do. We've also done certified wildlife habitats. So we work with a local environmental group to understand what things we might need for the site to be considered certified wildlife and more environmentally friendly. And then what we haven't done yet, but we would really like to do is include hand-picked crops. Obviously, it's very hard to get machines into these sites in between the rows, but if there's something that we can plant underneath the panels that doesn't need direct light all day, we would really like to engage with a local group to do that. And also, we're open to any other uses that the community feels would be appropriate at this site. So let's talk about the benefits that we really hope to see here and we plan to bring forward. So through the CBRE 2 program, we hope that this will result in a 10 to 12% monthly discount on the subscribers' bills. The program details have not been finalized yet, so we are still working to understand what this number would be, but this is what it typically is for other community solar programs. And we would prioritize the beneficiaries in this case. So we would put them at the top of the list when we go to subscribe people to this project. And we would try to bring it forward as quickly as we can so that people can start seeing savings on their bill as quickly as they can. Through the project, we'll likely upgrade some electric lines and other infrastructure in the area. We'll be adding an access road to this site, which DHHL and others can use to get around the site. And we will also have workforce opportunities. So through construction and maintenance activities, we will be creating a workforce training program to engage locals in coming to the site and working and really helping out with the site. Donations, we'll make those to the nonprofit organizations that serve the homesteads. And that's included in our terms with this project. And then, like I talked about with the sheep, fortunately, not only are they lawnmowers, but they're actually bringing local food to restaurants and markets on Oahu, and we hope to do the same here on the Big Island. So that rancher will take care of the sheep, and then hopefully they will end up on someone's dinner table, and full cycle we'll be utilizing everything at the site. But the last thing I'll mention is that this project is really low impact as far as developments go. We're not tearing up the land a lot. We're not putting any concrete. We're not putting any sewer systems, anything like that in. It really is something that gets essentially pounded into the ground and taken up at the end of the life of the project. We smooth out all the ground. We reseed it if we need to, and it can go back to being a different use, an agricultural use or something else that the DHHL chooses. So it really is a great project for this area. Okay, so our community solar program is really very easy and simple, and that goes along with our mission of how we want it to be. So our community solar program, we have an online platform that you can actually see if you go to our website. But what it is it's a guaranteed discount on your electric bill. It's no upfront costs, no cancellation fees. You don't need to commit. You're not locked in like other contracts. You just have to let us know if you move off island or you don't want to participate anymore for some reason. You just give us a 90-day notice. And there's also no credit check. And this goes along with the low to moderate income program type, is that we really we don't need to be invasive in anyone's financials. We don't need to have any kind of fee that's put in. So you might have heard of different types of community solar where you buy part of a project, and that's not what this is, and that's not our program. And we really believe that community solar should be easily accessible and free to access in order to participate. So there's no fees. And I think on the second slide, I'll show the portal that Hawaiian Electric has provided in order to allow people to sign up. So through the CBRE2, this is what it looks like. It's CommunityEnergy.hawaii.gov. And what this will be is essentially a marketplace for these solar projects. So if you sign in with your Hawaiian Electric account, you can go in and look at different projects that are happening on the island. You can see what the discount rate would be, and you can sign up for that. And so we would, when we reach out to the community residents through mailers or different means, we would give you a link to or direct you to our project on this portal and ask you to sign up there. And one other way that we would do that, and we would start giving more information on what community solar is holding local meetings at a public place, during hours that are easy for people to get to, where we would give information sessions. You can ask any questions. We'll give an overview on community solar and explain how to sign up. Other ways that we'll reach out are by direct mail. So we'll send out letters just saying, hey, check out our project, please sign up for it, here are the details. We'll also utilize printed ads in local newspapers. We've done ads on Facebook before, posts talking about the project. And we can also put up flyers around the community just to showcase that the project's coming up and that you can sign up for it. These are what our outreach materials have looked like in the past. So on the left, you'll see this is what a direct mailer might look like. When you get it, it would have our logo at the top and just some more information about the project and community solar in general. The middle is a flyer that we might put up around the community. That's what it might look like. And then the Facebook posts. So if we have information sessions, we'll create an event, or we can also do posts about the project, just general information if people don't want to come in person. Once subscribers are allocated to a project, and right before you would start receiving credits, you would get a nice onboarding kit, and this is a nice little package we like to send to our customers. It shows, it's got a booklet with like questions and answers. It's got a bag, a window decal, and a nice welcome letter. So we're really excited to be able to send these out. This is the latest schedule from Hawaiian Electric and the Public Utilities Commission. So we are still waiting for the final RFP to be issued. That's item number 8 on this list. We are hoping that that will be any day now, and that proposals, so our proposal for this site, which Nexamp would submit to Hawaiian Electric sometime probably in late November, early December. And from there, Hawaiian Electric looks at all the bids, all the projects, and they pick a short list of projects that they like or that have met the criteria for the program. And so we will either be notified that we're not moving forward or that we have made the priority list. And from there, we'll give our best and final offer. And what that is our offer to Hawaiian Electric is a lump sum payment, a payment that Hawaiian Electric makes to the developer every year, so that the developer can operate the project and provide credits to the subscribers. And so after that best and final offer on that price, they will give final awards or final announcements to the shortlist developers. And so after that happens, which will be sometime in May, June, hopefully, we will start working on the development of the site. We will start meeting with local stakeholders, presenting the project and understanding what the best technologies and the best type of fit for our proposed site are.
Okay, thank you, Julie. The next slide will be covering the terms of the agreement, excuse me, as it stands between the department and Nexamp. And so this is kind of like a summary of terms. We talked about the right of entry being the first land disposition, because that's when they'll be doing their due diligence studies. For a 2-year period, that would be $30,000 for the 2 years. And if they need one more year, if needed, that would be an extra $10,000. At that point, and this is when they would be finished with their environmental assessment, and it would have gone through beneficiary consultation, and the commission would have to approve the finding of no significant impact for that environmental assessment. And assuming that's all good and that they have their PPA in place with HECO, then they can say, okay, we're ready to go into the next stage, which is the general lease stage. And so the fee to exercise that general lease option is $30,000. And that's basically saying, okay, we're ready to move into the next phase. And that the next phase of general lease is basically, there's a construction term and then there's the operational term. And for the construction term, there would be a waiving of rent. So we're trying to help out, realizing that there'll be a lot of expenditure of money to do the construction of the project, hopefully within 2 years, with an option to extend 1 year. But at some point, and basically to coincide with what HECO is looking at, they set a date, like, we want everybody to be commercial, ready for commercial operations, delivery of energy on January 24th, 2023. So that would be like the ultimate date for the operational term to begin. And that term would last for 25 years with, and that would be for the 26.6 acres at $2,500 per acre per year, which is about $70,000 a year. That would go on for 25 years with an option for the lease rent to increase annually. That has not yet been discussed, like how that would go up. And then also at the same time is basically that they're saying we're ready to begin our commercial operations. And so there's a fee to commence that period, and it's $25,000 one-time only fee. And at that time also they would render the community donation one time of $20,000. We want to emphasize that there is no subscription fees for charged to DHHL beneficiaries, and upon the termination of the lease, we would ask them to, whatever we ask them to remove on the land, and they would have to remove. So this are basically the general terms of the agreement that we're looking at for the for approval. The final thing is I want to close up with the next steps. Basically that what we're really waiting for is, of course, HECO to release their RFP for the community-based renewable energy projects for Big Island. At that point, Nexamp will respond to the RFP, and hopefully they will be able to secure selection or secure the power purchase agreement. And they would be doing their due diligence on the works on the site and completion of the environmental assessment, as I said. And so that's basically what would be happening after that approval for the on Wednesday, on October 13th, with the approval of the right of entry and the general lease agreement. And so that pretty much concludes our informational briefing. And we would be going to a live session. And this is where, if you have already wrote in some questions in the chat box, we can answer them, or you can raise your hand at that point to speak. Mahalo.